Now, dramatic scenes at Changi Airport this morning when a Singapore Airlines plane caught fire after an emergency landing. The flight, which was bound for Milan, had to turn back nearly 2 hours after takeoff due to an engine oil leak. No one was injured.
Drama on the outside. A sense of eerie calm on the inside.
Upon landing, actually many people actually clapped, and so did I. But right after that, we realized the right engine of the plane caught fire. It was a very big fire. At that point in time, nobody clapped anymore, and everybody was very concerned. But you didn't see any panicky situation. Nobody screamed or shout.
SQ368 took off for Milan at about 2 on Monday morning. Nearly 2 hours into the flight, pilots saw a warning signal about the plane's engine oil.
We started to smell some oil or gas in the air, more like kerosene, I suppose. And it's not quite a faint smell, it's not a heavy smell. And after some time, you start to feel that the plane actually started to tremble a bit, start to vibrate a bit. So the pilot came on the air and said that right engine had a leak of oil, and he has to turn back because there wasn't enough fuel to reach Milan.
The Boeing 777-300 plane then made its way back to Singapore and landed at around 7 a.m.
It was very calm, well executed. The air crew was very professional. And we were also greeted by the firefighters along the way as well. I think most of us thanked the fire crew as well.
Majority of the affected passengers have departed Singapore for Milan on board SQ368D, but 3 passengers have decided not to take that flight. Singapore Airlines says that they are in touch with these passengers to offer them options to fly out at a later date. There were 222 passengers on board the plane and 19 crew members. They all disembarked from the plane safely after the fire was put out. Experts say everyone on board played a part to ensure there were no injuries from the incident.
The pilot made a decision to turn back to Singapore. Okay, that was a good decision. Okay, and when it landed, like when the fire was there, the airport emergency system were already there, and that it's also part of the defense system. Okay, and something that people do not think a lot is that the cabin crew who manages the evacuation were amazing. You know, there was no panic and everything was done orderly. All these things are very important in the whole safety chain.
Given that there's a fire outside of the window where some of the passengers can see, and the smell of fuel that most of the passengers can smell in the aircraft, I think if the passengers were not calm, they might cause more chaos. That might cause more problem when they're trying to exit the plane. So the passengers, I think, did a very good job in the sense to be very calm so that they can actually come out of the plane in a very orderly manner.
The authorities are investigating the cause of the fire.
Now, the experts we spoke to also say an incident like this is quite rare, especially considering the safety record of the Boeing 777. And they shared their thoughts about what might have sparked the blaze.
All planes undergo rigorous checks before takeoff. But one expert says some small defects may slip through the cracks.
When there's a very minor hairline crack that cannot be detected, during the flight where there's a high stress, these hairline cracks might become a big crack that causes the oil to actually leak out. And then if it's not contained properly or dissipated away, then this oil leak will actually catches fire.
That's one explanation for what might have happened to SQ368. Professor Huang says oil leaks are not common, and if they do happen, it's usually across the plane's engines.
It could be at the front of the engine, the fan inlet, or at the exhaust nozzle, which is very hot. So if the oil that's leaked, right, the leak oil that touches a hot area, right, it might actually cause a fire to happen.
Well, engines are a very complex piece of machine, and there could be a possibility of a failure that was not detected, okay? Or in the course of maintenance, a failure, an error was induced. Of course, the aim of the investigation is to prevent the next accident. Right? So human errors are very important, and we will see whether there was in fact a lapse or a mistake or a violation of procedures.
Professor Lim says the Boeing 777 has proven to be one of the safest and most reliable aircraft around. According to the Aviation Safety Network, only 5 such planes have suffered irreparable damage since 1993.
There are thousands over of these aircraft flying, and the GE engine has been proven to be very reliable. So we really do not know how this thing happened at the moment.
Professor Lim says investigations should yield preliminary results within a couple of weeks. A full report would take about 6 months.
Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong says the Air Accident Investigation Bureau will get to the bottom of the matter. In a post on Facebook, Mr. Lee also thanked SIA and Changi Airport for their swift response and said he was relieved that all those on the plane got off safely.